Hi everybody, this is Grandma Diane. I'm having some difficulties today, as you can tell, getting things set up and getting things rolling. Sorry about that, but we're ready to go right now with our story time. It's called Good News, Bad News, and it's written by Mack. I think this is about my third try this morning, so 3 times and you're out, I guess. Let's give it a try. Good News, Bad News by Mack. Oh, and look at the end pages here. Aren't they something? Wow, they practically tell the story in themselves, don't they? And a pretty color at that. Good News, Bad News by Mack, and it's published by Scholastic Company. If we look here, look at what's coming out of the rabbit's basket. It looks like he's losing a bit of fruit for the story. Poor guy. This guy doesn't look too happy down here, does he? And Rabbit says here to his friend, good news. He's got a basket with still some fruit in it, even though he lost some of it. This guy looks a little bit happier now, doesn't he? At the idea of perhaps a picnic lunch. Oh, and then he looks up and he says, bad news, and it starts to rain. Kind of hard to have a picnic in the rain. And the rabbit says, good news. And what would the good news be? Yes, that's right, that he has an umbrella to use. Excellent. Oh, bad news. The wind has come up and turned the umbrella inside out. Oh, that would make for bad news, wouldn't it? And then we see good news. They got underneath the tree where there was no rain falling down. So that would be good news, wouldn't it? Oh, bad news. Apples start falling out of the tree and landing on the poor mouse's head. But good news is they have another apple to eat. Hooray! They look pretty happy about the good news, don't they? And here's one called Bad News. He bit into the apple and it had a worm in it. That would be bad news. But good news is they have cake in the picnic basket. And look at the mouse throws the apple and the worm goes flying, and so does the apple, or so does the worm. Okay, must be bad news coming up. Oh, it is bad news. Look, we have a bee that landed right on the top of the cake. But good news is Rabbit has a fly swatter. Oh no, can you imagine what he's going to do? Look at, I think Mouse knows what he's going to do too. And it is bad news. He swatted the bee right on top of the cake, and look at, poor Mouse is covered with frosting. But good news is poor Mouse is covered with frosting. They can still eat it, can't they? So Rabbit's trying to lick it in and get as much of it as he can. Oh no, bad news. Here come all the bees after the frosting. Oh my, I wouldn't want to be that mouse, would you? But good news, they find a cave that they can run into and get away from the bees and the rain. So in they go. Bad news, guess who's in the cave? And here they come running out, followed by the bees and a bear. Oh dear, that would be bad news, wouldn't it? And then good news, they climb up a pole. The bear can't climb the pole. But the bad news is the pole gets struck by lightning in the storm. Oh, how could it be? All three of them got struck by lightning, didn't they? And here we have them falling into the pond. Look at, they're all kind of charred and burnt. But the rabbit says, good news. There goes the bear, too. No, that would be good news to get rid of the bear. I don't know. Mouse doesn't look very happy, though, does he? He says, bad, 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 bad news. Rabbit's kind of perplexed there looking at him, isn't he? He is angry. One angry mouse. And Rabbit feels bad. And he says, bad news, and he starts to cry. And look at Mouse now. I think he feels sorry, doesn't he? Kind of feels bad that he hollered so at Rabbit, who was a nice guy. Uh-oh, look what's happening. The sun is coming out from behind the clouds. That probably means the storm is over. And look at here, we have Mouse running. I bet he's running to get his friend Rabbit. What do you think? Aha. There's Rabbit. He found him. And the mouse now has the basket. And he says, good news. The sun is shining on them, and he has the picnic basket on top of his head. And Rabbit says, very good news. And they still have some food left in their basket. I think they're pretty good friends. What do you think? And that's the end of our story. We're back to the beginning again, where we have the end, I should say, where we have the end pages. Well, that was a fun story. And on the back, we have the two happy friends playing in the rain. How wonderful. Well, back when I was still teaching, we had a book, and I can't remember who the author was, but it was called Fortunately, Unfortunately. And fortunately was like the good news, and unfortunately was like the bad news. So it was a similar kind of book. And what we would do after reading that story is we would write our own stories about fortunately, unfortunately. Well, you could do that today using good news, bad news. You could have a big piece of paper, and you could divide it into 4, and you could have good news on top of 1 and bad news, and then good news and bad news. And you could draw 4 different pictures, not from the rabbit and mouse story, but from your own story. You could make up some good news that happened at home, and then maybe some bad news. Like maybe the good news could be Mom baked cookies. That would be good news. And then the bad news could be that you spilled your milk on top of the cookies. That would be bad news. See what I mean? You could put together that kind of a story, and I think that would really be fun to do. So that's our story time for today, people. Thank you for joining us. Again, try some activity with good news, bad news, but then also get outside. And if you do some drawings, you might want to try and send them to me at DianeDavies48@yahoo.com, and I can share them with our people tomorrow when we get together for our story time again. So, like I said, try some drawing, then get outside, get some exercise, have some fun in the sun, and find some good books to read as usual. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow for Grandma Diane's story time. Bye now.